Welcome to the 24th floor. I'm Richard Denson alongside Ruben Diaz. We're less than a month away from the NBA draft, so we figured for this episode, we just go all in on the draft since that's what all the noise is about in the Mid-South.
Yeah, I mean, right now there's so much talk about what's going to happen. I like the fact that not everybody knows everything yet. It's good. The Grizzlies hold 3 important picks in the draft, talking about number 3, number 16, and then 32, and how Memphis handles those could have a big impact on the future of the Grizz.
Yes, the next era, we call it the next gen, the grit and grind. So to help us break it all down, we're joined by a guest you all may have seen here on 24 Plus, but he's making his debut on the 24th floor. He's one half of the Locked On Grizzlies podcast, Mr. Joe Mullinax. Joe, welcome to the show, my guy. I had to clap it up.
Yeah, I'm fired up. I'm excited to be here. I'm bummed out my buddy DeMichael can't be here with us, but he's busy. He's a busy guy. So excited to be here. I really enjoy Locked On Grizzlies. I've been covering the team for over a decade now, podcasting and blogging and all that stuff. So this is a great opportunity, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely.
Covering them for more than a decade, you have seen a lot of good and bad with the Grizz.
Yeah, Nick Calathis. I know who Nick Calathis is.
Yeah.
Not everybody does that follows
Florida
the Grizzlies,
legend,
nowadays,
University of Florida legend. Yeah. All right, Joe, let's start with the biggest question surrounding this franchise right now. What should Memphis do with pick number 3?
Cam Boozer.
I think
we're overthinking this. I think we're overthinking this a little bit. I think that Caleb Wilson, if he is the choice, and I know we'll probably talk a little bit more about him here in a moment. I think if he is the pick, that makes sense. I'm not going to go on Locked On Grizzlies and completely trash the selection. But I do think that when you have a player the caliber of Cam Boozer, who is younger by a year than Caleb Wilson and half a year compared to the other top prospects in this draft, we're overthinking this. This is somebody who is being compared offensively to Nikola Jokic. He has a game that can do so much in terms of the skill set that he has. But for me, guys, after watching a lot of losing basketball the last year or two, I like the fact that this guy has won everywhere he's been. From high school through college, he was a miracle shot away from getting Duke to the Final Four. This guy is a winner. And I think that the Memphis Grizzlies need as many winners as they can get. So when you couple the basketball skill, the pedigree, he has literally been built for this and trained for this his entire young adult life. And now we're on the precipice of being able to select him number 3 overall. I've argued on the podcast, 3 is the best pick in the draft because there's 3 guys at the top of this thing, and you get the one that's left. So Zach Kleiman, GM of the Grizzlies, he can't get blamed. Hey, I took the guy that was on the board that was left behind, right? And most mock drafts suggest that Boozer will be the guy. So I think that we're overthinking this a little bit. There's certainly an upside swing that you can talk about with Caleb Wilson, but we have to remember that Cam Boozer won't even be 19 on draft night. You'll be drafting an 18-year-old. So I'm a Cam Boozer guy. That would be my pick at 3.
Well, you and I are the same, Joe. I've been saying for a while that Cam Boozer, in my opinion, was the best pick to take in that spot. We had a little bit of conversation about if Darren Peterson happened to be available at the 3 spot, if they should take him over Cam. But man, that just everything.
That wouldn't be in that situation. Cam would be gone because he'd be taking the top 2.
In what I'm saying though is like in my mind, there wasn't a scenario where I didn't think Cam Boozer was a great fit for Memphis for what they need and what he does.
Offensively, he's the perfect fit to me of all of the options because you could argue he's a better point guard or point forward than Darren Peterson is in terms of the current skill set, his ability to read defenses, that point forward capacity. Imagine the Zach Edey, Cam Boozer pick and roll. Like that's something that can happen. Imagine the mismatches you can create. And if you're moving on from the John Morant era, and it looks more and more likely depending on how the draft goes, things could get shaken up. But if Ty Jerome is your bridge, and he's more of a scoring guard anyway that can play the point, why not run more of your offense through Cam Boozer, who showed at Duke that he has the capacity to make good decisions with the ball in his hands. He can shoot the 3 at a high clip. Defensively, the fit is not as clean. I'll acknowledge that. There are no perfect prospects. But in terms of offensive fit, for a Grizzlies team that, in my opinion, has 2 guys that are bona fide starters on the next great version of this team, and that's Zach Edey and Cedric Coward, When you need three different things, and Cam Boozer is sitting right there ready to be a contributor from day one, and not just a contributor, he could be an all NBA caliber player in this league as a modern point forward type. Again, I think we're overthinking this a bit.
Now, exactly. You talk about overthinking, and obviously you know about around this time of the year is trades and everything. I'm sure you've seen the noise on Twitter. Zach Kleiman has never traded down in his life since being the Grizzlies GM, but there's been rumors that maybe the Thunder packaged their 2 picks to move up and get Cam Boozer, which would make sense for the Grizzlies at 3. Could you see a world where the Grizzlies take the Thunder's 2 picks and maybe a Jalen Williams for Cam Boozer, or is Cam Boozer that much of a can't-miss talent that you don't do it?
We talked about this on Locked On Grizzlies a couple of shows ago. Here's where I stand on it, fellas. Could you make an offer that logically makes sense for number 3? Yes. I think that you can make that offer. It has to start with a J-Dub or a Chet Holmgren. Has to start there. I think it has to include multiple first-round picks. And at some point, you get to the level of this where you remember where you are, right? We're talking Memphis, Tennessee. We're talking about a place where the last era of Grizzlies basketball was built on the backs of 3-star players that were drafted in Memphis. 4, if you want to include Brandon Clark, rest in peace. But Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, John Morant, all drafted by the Memphis Grizzlies. And all this smoke and mirrors about players not wanting to play in Memphis, that's only true of the guys that haven't ever actually lived in and played for Memphis. Most of those guys, as you guys well know, when they are selected by the Memphis Grizzlies and you feel the love that Memphis gives to those players, they love the city. They invest in the city. They make their homes in the city. You don't react the way that Desmond Bane reacted, the way that Jaren Jackson Jr. reacted when they got traded. You don't react that way if you hate the city that you were playing for, right? So for me, that number 3 pick is a chance to, once again, Zach Edey, drafted by the Memphis Grizzlies. Cedric Howard, drafted by the Memphis Grizzlies. You bring in a young player who, to be honest, never experienced the Los Angeles Lakers, never experienced the Miami Heat or the Brooklyn Nets or these other big markets, and they feel the love that the city has. Memphis is imperfect, but Memphis also has so many beautiful things about it that these NBA players, when they're drafted by the team, brought into the city, they feel it, they see it, they experience it. It would take an awful lot, more even than what OKC has in this current draft, plus their current stars. It would take more than that for me to move on from 3, because I believe in whoever is going to be available that much that they can be that next superstar for the team.
I agree. I know we got to take a break, so we have more NBA to talk about, more draft to talk about, but I think you kind of summed it up perfectly. 3 is kind of the magic spot. And you don't get it very often. I don't know that I'd trade it away either.
Yeah, it's the best problem to have because you can just sit tight and just let the board do what it is. All right, Joe, we're stay right here because still ahead on the 24th floor, the Grizzlies have 2 more draft picks to figure out.
Yeah, we got to shift our focus to pick number 16 and whether Memphis should look for immediate help or take another swing at maybe a star for the future. We'll talk about it when we come back.
Welcome back to the 24th floor alongside Ruben Diaz and Locked On Grizzlies host Joe Mullinax.
Yeah, we already talked about the number 3 pick, right, and all the pressure around that, who you should take, what that means. But Memphis has another important first-round decision to make at number 16, which, although it doesn't sound as sexy as number 3, it's still a great pick.
This is the one pick that I'm actually the most excited about because a lot of times when you look at who's some of the best players in the NBA, it comes from the middle of the draft, such as Kawhi Leonard, Giannis. So you know what, Joe, when you look at where this roster currently stands, what should the Grizzlies realistically be trying to accomplish with pick number 16?
You mentioned earlier in the show that Zach Kleiman has never traded back, but he certainly has traded up before. And I do think that we need to keep that in mind. I would be surprised if the Grizzlies pick at 16. I think they make a move, try to get into the second half of the lottery, maybe a little bit further back than that, because I do think that they'll have a guy or two that they want to make sure that they jump in front of other teams to try to select. Somebody like a Cameron Carr. I know our mutual buddy, DeMichael Cole, is big on Cam Carr, and he looked pretty darn good at the NBA Draft Combine. Do you guys remember anybody else who looked pretty darn good at the draft combine, maybe around this time last year? Oh, yeah, Cedric Howard looked pretty darn good at the NBA draft combine. So I think somebody like a Cam Carr who can knock down the three, can defend, has good wingspan, somebody like that. A Mo Johnson of Michigan has also had a bit of a move up the draft board rankings, trying to restock and rebuild that front court depth. That to me would be a major focus, especially if you're not really as happy with the point guards that could be available there in the middle of the first round. There's still going to be plenty of wings, plenty of bigs. Those are just two of the guys that I have my eye on if Memphis picks at 16. But again, I would be surprised if they do. I think they're going to trade up a little bit or at least try to.
So on the mock draft stuff, it's got them taking Christian Anderson from Texas Tech as point guard, which I like that guy too, which would feed into the narrative that maybe you're moving on from John Morant. You go pick a point guard in that 16 spot, somebody that can start to hold down the fort a little bit, a young guard you can build and develop. What you're saying is that may not actually come to fruition if things go kind of typical, like the history of the Grizzlies, I should say.
Yeah. And I think that, again, the point guard position, you've got Ty Jerome on your roster. You've got Scottie Pippen Jr. on your roster. You've got Walter Clayton Jr. on your roster, at least for now. You have multiple point guards that are in that mix. I don't know that you have to reach for a point guard in this particular draft. The Memphis Grizzlies in this rebuild, it's not going to be something where they are going to fix everything overnight. That's just not realistic. I expect the Grizzlies to be much more competitive next season, but much more competitive from where they were is not really that much of a jump, if that makes sense. If we're talking about the play-in this time, in 9 months from now, I think that's something to be really excited about. If you're the Memphis Grizzlies, you're back in the mix and you're improving, building, and with the likely changes to the NBA draft lottery that are coming, you have plenty of assets still going into next year. If you're trying to find a point guard, try to solidify that position if you're not happy with the young guys that you currently have on your roster. I think that they can certainly go best player available, but they can also afford, I posted on X the other day, if Nate Ament tumbles out of the lottery, a Tennessee Volunteer, and he's sitting there around 15 or 16, I wouldn't hate that pick. We're talking about a 6'10" wing. He had ebbs and flows at Tennessee. There might be some flaws to his game, but again, he's young and he has a frame. Imagine a starting five. That's Ty Jerome, but then beyond that, Cedric Howard at the 2, Ament at the 3, Boozer at the 4, and Edey at the 5. That's one of the biggest teams in the National Basketball Association. And that, again, not a perfect selection in terms of there's a lot of room for growth with Ament, but you're looking for an upside swing there. And if you're going with a really talented but safe thing at Cam Boozer at 3, taking that upside swing at 16 makes a little more sense to me if they pick there.
Oh, well, first, I know you can't see my reaction, but I just shook my head at Ament because everything you just said about Ament is the same thing people said about Zachary Risachet. And you see what he's doing for the Hawks. They're basically
he was the number
the
1 overall pick. We're talking about the middle of the draft.
But they're essentially the same type of player. The only difference is Ament is American. And it's just like, Ament, I think he's good, but it's just like, you're talking about having him start. Like looking at a world where he starts, I would much rather take a flyer on Allen Graves, a guy who just announced that he's going to stay in the draft instead of go back to school and go to Santa Clara or hit the portal. I think Allen Graves is this year's Cedric Howard, a guy who you look at be like, maybe he should go play for more blue blood in college, but he's going to bet on himself and go into the draft and be a really good player. What do you think about Allen Graves?
I like Allen Graves. I don't know that he's as good as Cedric Howard. I think there's some holes in his game that didn't necessarily, when I look at Graves, I see more like a Boris Diaw type. And don't get it twisted, Boris Diaw had a pretty good NBA career, right? Like, I'm not hating on that. But I don't see a guy that's going to come in. He's more like a Kyle Anderson type to me. That's the kind of vibe I get when I look at a Graves. And I want to stress, I would prefer Cam Carr. DeMichael talked me into Cam Carr. That's my guy, I think, at that second pick. I'm just saying that if you're going to go with a Cam Boozer, who, again, I think it's crazy to say he's a finished product and he's not even 19 yet. But if we're talking about Cam Boozer being the safe bet, going for the upside swing, even if it's not Ament, if there's another type of upside swing, like somebody like a Corey, the point guard from Stanford.
Oh, I love a Corey.
That's a guy that has been rising up draft boards. That's a guy that has a long wingspan. He's only about 6'3", but he's got a 6'8" wingspan. That's an upside swing type of pick too. Those types of guys are the guys I would think about at 16. It doesn't have to be a Met. He's just one. If he is there, it would be interesting to think on.
He's going to get Kleiman fired.
Do the Grizzlies not need more shooting? Like, you were talking about true three-point shooting, especially the way the NBA has started to, has gravitated towards the three-point line. Even the bigs are out so much. Would it not make sense to maybe look at a true shooter at that 16 or maybe even later on in the draft? But if you could move up and get you somebody like Burries from Arizona or something, does that help you in any situation?
Oh, sure. I think that's the first thing they do. I think they try to package 16, 32, and I mentioned all those point guards. They're not all going to play, so maybe you try to take the salary of a Walter Clayton Jr. You take the money of another player. We forget that they have this massive traded player exception that was created in the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade. They can take back, I think it's $28.4 million in salary. So that is an asset that they can use to try to either bring in more draft capital as they continue this rebuild, or to bring in another draft pick, or to try to bring in a veteran player, somebody that could be trying to cut cap money. There's so many flexibilities that they have within this draft and so many different ways that they can twist and turn. I absolutely could see them trying to get up to 6, 7, or 8 and to take somebody like a Burries. But again, Cam Carr is probably going to shoot, Carr shot really well in college, 37%. We're talking about guys, I haven't brought him up yet, but Dalen Swain, not the best three-point shooter in college, but he's been rising up draft boards. It could be a good two-way wing out of Texas. Corey, who we were talking about a moment ago, out of Stanford, he shot 36% from three at Stanford, but he shot 83% on his free throws, and free throw percentage is oftentimes a good indicator of what they're going to do from the three-point line later on in their careers. So there's lots of pieces that you could go with, whether you trade up, do something of that nature to bring in some other type of contract using that pick. They can do a lot of different things to bring in that shooting. I don't think that's something they don't need. But if Cam Boozer is the pick at the 3, this is a guy that shot 39% in college from beyond the arc, and he did it on a pretty good clip and pretty good volume. They're going to be bringing in a three-point shooter if Boozer is the pick, whereas Caleb Wilson does a lot of things well. One of the glaring weaknesses in his game is the lack of a three-point shot, at least when he was at UNC.
All right, we got to take another quick break. So we didn't got the 3, we didn't did 16, but the Grizzlies still have another decision ahead in the second round.
Yeah, we're going to talk about pick number 32 when we come back. Now, again, that doesn't sound as sexy, but there's still a lot of talent in this draft.
Hey, Jalen Wells was taken in the second round. Who knows? We'll talk about it. Welcome back to the 24th floor. We've already talked about the franchise-changing decision at number 3 and number 16, but Memphis also has an opportunity to find value at pick 32.
Yeah, so Joe, let's start with you. Who do you think they should take at 32?
Let's go rapid fire.
I'm going to steal a little bit of thunder here. Taurus Reed is my guy out of UConn. I'm a big fan of his. When you get to the second round, you're looking at guys that can produce. You're looking at guys that can bring something tangible to the table as quickly as possible. Reed is a big body player. He can defend. We talk about Boozer being that hub of offense as a creator, as a big. Reed did a lot of that at UConn as well. And you know what else they do a lot of at UConn? They win. Checks the same box as Boozer earlier. I'm going Taurus Reed.
Man, you kind of stole my pick. That's who I was going to go with. Everybody kind of knows how big of a Taurus Reed fan I was, especially during the tournament. And then as we know, Zach Kleiman likes UConn guys because he got Cam Spencer. Now, if I had to be different, and I would go with his teammate at UConn, I'd go Caravan. That would probably be my second decision behind Taurus Reed because, like you said, those guys know how to win. And Caravan, 4-year player at UConn, he knows the ins and outs, playing with one, in my opinion, the best coach in college basketball in Hurley. So I'll echo Taurus Reed, but just to be different, I'll say Caravan. What you got?
Well, I'll go dark horse on this. Trayvon Brazile from Arkansas.
That's a reach.
Yeah, it is, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it because of his size, his length, his energy, his defensive ability. Not a huge offensive scorer right now. I mean, he can score, but that's not really his deal. And more importantly, he played at Arkansas, played for Coach Cal.
Ruben
and so
I'm
just going that route. Do I think that's where it's going to go? No, but I'm going to go that route.
You know, Ruben used to work in Arkansas.
I did work
so now
at Arkansas.
he's a Razorbacks fan.
Well, I do think very few people get players ready for the NBA as good as Coach Calipari.
You're right.
If there's a way if you're planning on going to the league, Coach Cal is going to get you as ready as you can be. So I think Brazil's going to be a little bit more ready than we probably all thought he was going to be, just based on what he did at Arkansas, as opposed to how well he'll be prepared when he goes to the league.
The Grizzlies are hoping their second-round pick can produce another Vince Williams, Jalen Wells type. We'll see. But, Joe, we've had you on for 3 segments, man. How do you feel on your debut for the 24th floor?
I'm feeling good. Hopefully I did well enough that it's not my last time. I had a blast, and I appreciate you guys. And we got to stick together here, those of us under the Tegna umbrella. So I appreciate y'all, and hopefully folks are checking out Locked On Grizzlies wherever they get podcasts each and every day. Myself and DeMichael Cole, Memphis Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal, hosting that podcast, and hopefully they're checking out this show and our show, and hopefully I'll be back again soon.
Yes, sir. Joe, we always appreciate the insight and the time, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Have a great rest of your day, Joe.
All right, coming up next on the 24th floor, it's time for Best Thing I Saw as we wrap up the show with a few things around the sports world that caught our attention this week. Stay close.
Can we start with the best thing I saw this week? How about the Ninja Turtles getting hyped for the New York Knicks headed to the NBA Finals? Now, there's a caveat. This is AI generated. So
I figured when I saw this, I was like.
I still thought it was great. I thought it was a great, it was on TikTok. I thought it was a great TikTok. What says New York better than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Knicks jerseys as the Knicks whoop the Cavs? I mean, whoop the Cavs, sweep them 4-0, win the last game by dang near 40 points. Woo!
Yeah, I mean, I like the teenage TMNT, but I hate the Knicks. But I can say my team was the only team to get some wins off the Knicks in the East. We took 2 off of them, and then after that, we gave them a real gut check, and then they whooped us too.
The Knicks are the real deal, which is hard to say because they have been so bad for so long for them to be making this resurgence. But again, shout out to whoever created it.
A part of me feels happy for the Knicks. I hate to say it because I don't like New Yorkers. I really don't. But part of me feels happy for them. They deserve this. But it's too bad because destiny arrives in the finals. Because whoever wins this in the West is going to win it all. And well, let's go to my best thing. My best thing is my prediction. Jared McCain lighting up the Spurs. He is the reason why I said the Thunder was going to go to the finals and repeat. I know we don't have our guy Ezekiel Telemaco on, but Jared McCain proving me right. 18 of 20 points in the second half against the Spurs in Game 5. The Thunder now up 3-2. The Spurs on the brink of elimination, Ruben. I'm telling y'all, the Thunder are going back-to-back, and it's going to be because of this guy. He's the difference maker.
I've been saying the Thunder were going the whole time.
I thought you had the Spurs. I thought you said the Spurs.
No, I think the Thunder are phenomenal. I thought you guys were saying that Wembanyama was too good to beat and that he was the future of the league, and that's why they were going to win.
I never said that. My prediction at the beginning, I said OKC and Cleveland. Now, obviously, but then I ended up switching midway when New York.
Knicks, yes.
Yeah, I said OKC and New York. Zeke said the Spurs, but I'm like, Jared McCain, to me, was the difference maker. Because think about it. The Thunder got Jalen Williams, A.J. Mitchell that were both out, and Jared McCain steps up and shows out.
No, I think he does. I think he's doing a great job. I'm not discounting your point at all, but I'm going to say the team, the Thunder are the most in-control team in the NBA that I've seen in a long time. They don't get frazzled. They just stay committed and focused, and they just keep coming for you every single time. So I love the way they play.
Like Drake said, back to back. All right, that will do it for today's episode of the 24th Floor. Shout out to everyone who made today's show possible, especially our guy Andrew Pollard for his work behind the scenes getting this show together. Big shout out to Joe Mullinax for joining us for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to make sure that he does not quote any more Drake by the time we come on the show next week.
Keep in mind, he didn't listen to Iceman.
I did.
He did.
It all sounds the same, I'm not going to lie. And I'm a big Drake fan, so it's time to go on that one.
Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you on the other side. Shebang.